Hello, Maddie. Welcome to Midwest Meets Mediterranean.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, when I started this podcast, you were one of the very first people I thought about inviting to the interview because, for two reasons. First, your product knowledge and knowledge of the producers and makers of the products you carry is so deep. And second, you work at my favorite store on the planet. Now, I haven't been to every store on the planet, but I've been to many, and some of them even hand you a glass of champagne when you walk in the door. But EverSharp is my favorite because you're selling the tools of my trade. And I feel like you and EverSharp are a part of my kitchen, now my home kitchen, but at one time my commercial kitchen. So, first, I want to talk about the background of EverSharp, started by your father, Tom Jensen, but it didn't
Yep.
start as EverSharp, did it?
It did not. It originally started in 1987. My dad's business partner, Al Kostanek, he did convenience store remodeling, and they met because my dad had convenience stores. And so it originally started as
Oh.
that, and then our neighbors were Wüsthof. There used to be a Wüsthof distributorship right next to us on Taft Street. And that's when we learned about knives, really. And we started making display cases for them. And then we kind of slowly started that. And then in 2007, we opened up EverSharp.
So, okay. So were you in that building you're in now?
Yep, we've always been in this location.
You have. Okay. And
Yep.
where was this Wüsthof dealer?
The building got torn down, but it was right to the right of us, the really tall BPEX building.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
small, not really well built, like suited for, it used to be like an eyeglass company. Um, and so that was like the distributorship for kind of the upper US. And then when Wüsthof decided to kind of consolidate and just have one warehouse in the country, they moved out to Connecticut. And they asked, "Are you interested in opening up a store? We miss having an outlet in Minneapolis." And that's kind of it. Just happened, just randomly, and haven't looked back since.
So you didn't take over stock. You really started from scratch.
Yep, we started from
So,
scratch. Although we did get to use our old display cases we had built for other stores. It was very, very shoestring. But yeah, we started and brought in everything. The store, which is small if you've been here, was about half the size. And we just had only Wüsthof knives and just kind of started from there.
so how did the transition go? I mean, was it a smooth transition? And were you even born then?
I was in, so I was spending after school helping get the display cases stocked. I knew nothing about knives. And so I was just merchandising and getting things set up. But it actually was pretty smooth. We kind of, I think it helped. My dad had opened up not a kitchen store before, but he's opened stores before. So he kind of knew kind of the different, what to look for and how to set it up. And then we also, uh, in starting this, we were able to bring on the Wustof's original sharpener, Joe. And so we already had that instant, really well established sharpener join us from day one. So that was
Oh, so
very
that he was
helpful.
a local person.
Yep, yep. And he actually sharpened for Wusthof like almost maybe 15 years prior to that.
Okay, so that equipment
So
and that person stayed with you. And who
yeah,
does that now?
still Joe. We've added a couple people, but Joe is still our main sharpener. We're kind of getting ready training the next generation. But yeah, the same people from day one are still here. We've added people. We sometimes have more seasonal help, but the core is still the core.
So, how does that deep institutional knowledge that you have with these people that have been there, I guess many since day one,
Yeah,
how does that help you stay competitive?
you know, it helps because we've problem solved and kind of learned as we've gone, and so we've already run into different hurdles of figuring out like new technology. We've always are looking for more effective or better opportunities for sharpening. And so while we love what we're doing and we like the machine, we're never going to stop trying to learn and look at other options. So that's like why we love our metal sharpening machine, but we sharpen our ceramic knives on a custom built machine from Japan. Um, it just, nothing compares to getting a ceramic knife sharp compared to any other machine. And so we just are always evolving and trying to stay just competitive and learn from mistakes, learn from trial and error, and figure out what works. And then also, if it doesn't work, letting it go quickly, not holding on to it.
Well, people have changed how they buy so much over the years. And my
Mhm.
earliest culinary purchases were from large department stores
Yep.
here locally, Dayton's, Donaldson's, of course.
Mhm.
Then stores like Williams Sonoma came in, Sur La Table, not here anymore, Kitchen Window, not
Yep.
here anymore. What strategies do you have in place as the EverSharp buyer
Yeah. You know,
to stay relevant?
yeah. So one, it's because we're small. I get to talk to all the customers that are coming in, and when they bring in sharpening and I haven't seen a knife before, I ask, "How do you like it? Where did you find it? What do you like about it or don't like about it?" And from there, I can really, it's like, "Oh, let's identify, like, we should get this knife in, we should get this shape in." And you can really hear people's feedbacks from like just street level instead of looking at reports and going, this sold well, let's just keep doing this. We do look at that too, but I learned so much more from listening and talking to customers, both home chefs and professionals.
Yes, I know that is true. In my classes, I run into because your EverSharp comes up in every single class. So
Yeah.
um, I bring up EverSharp, and if people know about EverSharp, they're ecstatic.
Yeah.
And just I had the best experience there because I had a conversation. It's not like buying something on Amazon. It's a totally
No.
different experience. And if they don't know about you, they're they're so excited to have the resource.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really the biggest thing is just we have so many regulars, but it's always so fun when someone just says they found you on Google and their first time is coming in, and
Hmm.
you can tell if they're afraid of knives. It's a little daunting when you walk into a room full of knives on the wall. And then other people, this is a candy store and they just want to grab everything and look at it.
I always tell people to look up because
Yeah.
it's truly floor to ceiling
Yes.
great
Yes.
stuff. Okay, so getting back to you and what you're doing now. So you started as a kid and helped stock and that type of thing. Did you always intend to be the buyer at EverSharp?
I didn't. I had internships through college and different jobs, and I kept coming back to I really like it here. And I really
Mhm.
like I love buying and I love doing that, but I love that my day changes and it's never just one thing. You do everything in a small business. And so the funny thing is, I was just cleaning um, out a box in my childhood, like thing my parents threw at me, and it had the like career assessment that you take in like eighth grade, and one of the top careers was buyer. So I think it did fulfill that, but I didn't always know that I wanted it to do this.
I didn't know what a buyer was when I was in eighth grade,
Yeah,
but of course,
I
that's your
it, you know,
background.
yeah,
What are the roles like? I mean, you mentioned doing everything, and I know small businesses, that's a reality,
yeah,
but you are the person that does the buying, and
yeah,
your father is still at the store. I noticed that
yep,
you call him Tom, not Dad. Took me a long time to
sure,
get that one
yeah.
figured out. But so, how separate are things, and can you step in and sharpen?
I can't. I do check knives. So we have different steps in the sharpening process. And for quality control, and we also clean up the knives. So somebody is always checking the knives, wrapping them, and just double checking to make sure, it's packaged nicely and everything goes smoothly. And that also frees up his time to keep sharpening. Um, so I do that. We kind of, if it's slow, we open all of our mail-in sharpening. And then same with packaging and getting mail in sharpening out to customers. Um, I usually pull internet orders, and then my brother is way better at packaging and shipping, so he usually finishes that part. Um, my favorite thing is going to like different conferences and buying events to learn more and also to collaborate with other kitchen stores, because you learn so much more from talking to other small businesses in your same field, to really learn what they've learned the hard way or succeeded in, and then you can kind of apply those lessons. Um, and then I do some, the triple C side, I do way less, and my brother does a lot more of those. He does quotes and stuff for the projects, but I'll do usually invoicing or billing, when it gets backlogged.
So you've taken a couple of trips to the actual manufacturers in the past
Yeah,
6 months that I'm aware
yeah.
of. Tell me about those.
Well, the first trip, we got invited to go to Norway to visit the Hella factory, and that's their handmade outdoor hunting, but also just kind of camping like knives. They're really functional, and that was amazing. So I turned into a honeymoon trip too, but it started off at the warehouse, and it was unbelievable. The It's a third generation family owned business, and so it was really cool seeing some of the same things that they adapted to that you see in your own family business. And that was so cool seeing the steps. One thing that was very unique about them is they still use machines that were from like the 50s and 60s. So when you go into a knife factory, generally you do not take pictures. That's off limits. You can look, but you do not take pictures. They did not care because their value was in the people and the skilled workers that they had. And so they were like, we might regret this, but you can take videos of us making knives. You can take pictures. They let us try all the steps, and that was really quite cool. And then I just got back from a trip to the Wüsthof warehouse out in Connecticut. They just built that. They moved into a huge facility, and that was stunning. And so that was really fun, getting to meet with different departments. And you know, since our relationship with Wüsthof has been, decades long, I do know most of those people. They still have a Minneapolis worker who runs their warehouse. So that was always fun to like see, but it's just different getting to see everything in person and getting to walk the room to figure out what you want to buy.
That sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And how many times have you had that type of thing come up?
Not as often. My dad got to go to the Wüsthof factory in Germany, right after we opened, and that was very cool. Um, and he got to see all the different knife lines getting produced. And then my brother went to Japan last year to
Wow.
go to the Kikuchi factory, and that's again another very old school. So like Wüsthof is more modern, industrialized machines processing. Kikuchi is very still one person is, you're forging the knives by hand. It's not um, mass produced.
Well, I think this is an amazing opportunity, not just for you, but for the people that shop at your store because you have
Yeah,
such a deep knowledge of the product to the
yeah,
extent that you even know the people that make many of the things that you're
yeah,
selling. So, so Maddie, thank you for all the background knowledge of you and
yeah.
EverSharp. When we get back, we'll talk about what's in store for the store and what's in the store. This episode is brought to you by Bonicelli Cooking Club, home of the Mindful Mediterranean program. If you're looking for simple seasonal recipes, practical cooking strategies, and a more joyful way to approach food, you will find it here. Visit BonicelliCookingClub.com to learn more. So, Maddie, you have customers all over the world. You carry the largest selection of Wüsthof in America. That's true? Over
That is
600
true.
styles? Wow.
Yes.
So, how do you curate a collection that balances German workhorse knives with artisanal Japanese brands like Kikuichi and Miyabi?
You know, a lot of it is buying what we want to buy for ourselves, but also asking customers and listening to the things they're requesting. So certain styles of knives kind of move in favor or out of favor. And so, last year everybody was looking for like the Japanese petty knives, which are like smaller, think like a utility knife. And so we made sure to like increase that, or certain steel Japanese knives are going to be harder on the Rockwell scale, which means they're a little harder to sharpen at home, but they stay sharp longer. And so, kind of listening to that. And so, one of our hardest knives is the Miyabi Black Line that sits at 66 on the Rockwell. And that's been super popular because people are looking for that super strong, uh, hard knife. And then you don't want all of your knives to do that. You want a knife that you don't have to think about as much and that can cut through squash or harder things. And that's where I'm
Mm-hmm.
always going to grab like my off knife.
So, what is your personal favorite?
So that's hard because I have like 12 personal favorites. That's the
Mm-hmm.
ones that get to stay up. Um, for day to day, I'm going to use my Kikuichi Nakiri a lot. That's if I'm doing like prep work, veggies, kind of smaller slice work. If I'm trying to just get a bunch of prep done and I'm going through cantaloupe, squash, or even cutting up bricks of cheese or something, I'm going to grab like my Wüsthof chef's knife.
Mm-hmm.
That just has the heft to it. It works smoothly, and then you just don't think you can just go right through it. For serrated, I'm always going to go with a Wüsthof serrated. If you think about it, Germans know their bread knives. I have like three different styles of their serrations, and more so it's what size. I have like a smaller utility knife that I love for smaller things, but if I'm cutting a loaf of bread, it's nice to have like a longer bread knife.
Well, how many knives do you own personally?
Well, that's a hard question. I was reorganizing the kitchen. I have 12 that are out on my magnet bar in the kitchen that are my more heavy rotation knives that we use the most. And then in the drawer, it's probably about 20 more. Um, but when we bring in a new knife, I gotta buy it to see how it works and
Mm-hmm.
make sure I like it. And so a lot of those maybe don't stay as long in my kitchen, and I'm just testing them and seeing how they work, but they don't have space forever. Um, we did just bring home. Uh, my husband really wanted a pizza knife, and so he got a larger Wüsthof chef's knife, so you don't have to break or slice. And so that's when people ask like, "What kind of weird purchases?" It's whatever you want to cut. We've sold. Wüsthof used to make a 14-inch chef's knife. I sold that to a farmer. She cut a lot of watermelon, and so it's there's so many random uses of of things that it gets hard. So I try to not hold on to things that I'm not using often.
Makes sense. I have a specific knife that I use just for butternut squash because it can handle
Exactly.
cutting it lengthwise, but it has no
Yep.
other purpose. And I would never
Hmm.
chop with it because it's too long for me. But
Yep.
for that one thing, it's the perfect knife.
Exactly.
So EverSharp is a Wüsthof factory authorized service center. I got
Yeah.
that out. What does
Yes.
that certification mean to the consumer, and why is that different from a standard sharpening service?
Yeah. So one part of it, we've known Wusthof before EverSharp existed. So they used to have an outlet store next to us when they were on Taft Street. And that's kind of where that outlet store came from. And so when they moved to Connecticut, they reached out and asked if we would want to buy their reconditioned knives because, there was that hole missing in Minneapolis. And so what that means is we're the only place that they sell like factory imperfect or overstock um, knives to. And so those are always only available in store. They're not advertised and they're never going to be on our website. Um, we would never like it's really cosmetic issues. There's nothing that is going to impact how your knife works. And we inspect every single knife, which can be tedious because we just bought like a pallet full of knives. But we make sure they're all ready to go and looking at them, maybe the logo wasn't engraved perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a small blemish on the handle where the rivet is. And we always will point that out. You will never be like, wait, is this a new knife or which one is? It's always very clearly labeled, and we're happy to show you exactly why that knife is on sale. Uh, and so that's we just get them ready, tuned up, and there's nothing wrong with the knives.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've sent many people to EverSharp. In fact, EverSharp comes up in my classes all the time as
Yeah.
a great and my favorite local resource. And in particular, when someone is looking to buy knives. Why? Well, because I know you emphasize finding the right knife for a
Mhm.
person and you don't sell them something they don't need. What is your process for fitting a knife to a customer?
Yeah. The biggest thing is, um, I don't have a like when someone walks in the store, there's not a knife I'm trying like it's like, oh, I'm going to sell this knife today. It's listening because some German knives are a little heavier, and so it's kind of getting the a couple different knives in their hand. Does this feel too heavy? Is this too light? And that often will narrow out German or Japanese. It's just kind of seeing which one, and then from there, it's is this size comfortable in your hand, or what are you cutting the most of, or what do you struggle right now cutting? And often, it's because knives are a big investment. So I recommend, if you're not sure, start with one knife and get your other knife sharpened. And then from there, you can go, oh, I do want a new knife of this one. I'm using this a
Mm-hmm.
lot more. And so it's really just being kind of intentional and like figuring out what you're looking for because every single person is looking for a different knife. Some people, if they're only using paring knives, so like when we get in sharpening, if I get an order in that has 10 paring knives, I'm assuming they're probably not using larger knives. And so I'm not going to push an 8-inch chef's knife on them, but I might show them a 6-inch chef's knife and show them that with that different blade shape, you're going to get a lot more power going through different things and kind of just adapting there because the right knife for one is not the right knife for the next person.
My husband bought me a knife that he uses all the time, and I bought him a knife that I use all the time.
Exactly.
And it worked out fine in the end, but
Hmm.
we both bought our own knives for
Yes.
each other. So,
Yeah.
what is the most common mistake you see home cooks make with their knives?
You know, the newest one that I'm seeing a lot is if you're on social media, you're going to see a lot of ads for titanium cutting boards.
Yes.
Um, and that's kind of a good reminder. Anybody can make claims on a product, and it doesn't have to be true. Titanium cutting boards are terrible for your knife. Um, just like glass or anything that doesn't scratch, you're dulling your knife right away. And so we were getting a lot of customers that are like, oh, I just bought a knife and it's dull, and you feel it, and you're like, yeah, that's really dull. Um, and then you ask, what are you cutting on? And it's titanium. So you want to cut on something that has some give. So that's one of the biggest things is you can take care of your knife, but if you're cutting on the wrong surface, it doesn't really matter how you're maintaining your knife. Um, that and don't put them in the dishwasher. You'll be just happier with how your knife holds up. It's okay. I have a knife that I don't care about. It's my pizza knife. It goes in the dishwasher. I've accepted that. I don't care, and it's not going to last forever. But all my good knives, those get hand washed. So it's just kind of figuring out that. But if you like a knife, you want to hand wash it.
I should mention too that you've repaired several of my knives that, through no fault of my own, of
Yeah.
course, um, got broken. The ceramic ones I
Hmm.
had broke a tip off of. I actually just hit it on the end of the countertop. They're somewhat
Yep.
fragile. And then I also had a shin knife that had a chip in the blade, and
Hmm.
I was ready to toss it, and you guys fixed it.
Oh yeah, that's enough. And a lot. Sometimes it's just it often is actually somebody else like in the kitchen who doesn't know. So like they'll be like, my husband hit a avocado pit with my very fragile knife. Um, a good knife is always worth fixing. And so when we say we do blade repair, what that is it's removing a chip in a blade or repointing it if you broke off a tip. Um, really not bring it in, or we also get people who are out of state email us pictures like, is this fixable? Because if you're missing like a dollar coin size out of your ceramic knife, maybe that's not fixable. But most normal chips are very fixable and worth repairing.
So when people send pictures to you, they're finding
Mhm.
you through internet searches, or you have people you have
Yeah,
relationships with already?
both. So we do a lot of people just, I'm like, how did you find us? Google. Um, but we're Wüsthof's authorized sharpener for the country. So we get in a lot of mail-in sharpening throughout the country of a lot of Wüsthof knives. And then, they send in other brands too. And then we're also Kyocera's authorized sharpener for the country of ceramic knives. So we get lots of ceramic knives throughout. And so it's varying because maybe when they bought it, they weren't told a ceramic knife is more fragile, or
Mhm.
they didn't understand those like extra steps. Because if you know those steps, you're gonna love your knife. But if you think you can hit frozen food with your ceramic knife, you're gonna be sad.
Yes. Parmesan cheese is not such a good idea either.
No.
Yes, we learned that the hard way. So let's talk gadgets. So when I started cooking, I used to say, all I need is a good knife and a good pan. And now I have many, many good knives and pans and tons of gadgets, 95% of which I bought from you. So, how do you find all of these great things?
Part of it, we're in a buying group with other kitchen stores in the country, and that really helps us find vetted brands that have good quality and kind of just also then get to talk to other retailers. Have they tried it? Do they like it? And then we always, before I bring in anything, I go and I buy it and make sure I like it because gadgets are such a range. Like, should all peelers work? Yes, but not all of them do work very well. And
Hmm.
so we test everything because I want to know that everything in the store works and that I would want it for myself. And then we found, so like one of the ones you love a lot, and I do too, is Dream Farm. Um, we found that brand and we still test all the gadgets before we bring them in. But I mean, their juicer is the best juicer I've ever used. That was such an easy like housewarming gift. Their garlic press. And so space wise, we don't
Amazing.
have
The garlic
space.
press.
Yeah. Well, it's
Amazing.
back in stock now.
Okay, good.
Back. Um, but so like it's just really trying to be intentional. And also when you come into the store, we don't have a ton of space. So we want to put the best option out there, or we'll have two options that we really like, but we're not going to carry something that's mediocre or is like, yeah, it's okay. Like I don't love it, but you can get by with this.
And here's a tip from me. When you do go to the store, make sure that you really look around and look up and look down and look around because there is so much in that little tiny shop. And I
Yes.
love the fact that it's small and intimate and there's always someone there to help you. But don't be confused by the fact that it's small because there is a ton of stuff in there.
And even especially with all the seconds we're getting from Wüsthof right now, I know, sadly, I know everything. It's all in my head. But if people are looking for a knife, I might not have it out yet. But if you're asking for it, I will happily go dig in the back and go find it for you. And so if you're ever looking for a certain knife or a style and you don't see it, unfortunately, ask. We might actually have it. It just might not have space outside for it yet.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it's such a different experience than shopping on Amazon. And, just depending on what you put in the search, you might get an answer, you might not
Yeah.
get an answer. Okay. So when we come back, we will talk about EverSharp in the community and the future of the independent shop. This episode is brought to you by Bonicelli Cooking Club, home of the Mindful Mediterranean program. If you're looking for simple seasonal recipes, practical cooking strategies, and a more joyful way to approach food, you will find it here. Visit BonicelliCookingClub.com to learn more. So let's talk a little bit about how EverSharp stays competitive and gives back to the Twin Cities. You've mentioned that you're a part of a buying group, which provides better pricing and a community of knowledge, if you will. So how does an independent store in Northeast Minneapolis use that network to compete with massive e-commerce retailers who else is in the group?
So there's a ton. They're throughout all of the states, and so there's different buying groups out there. But there's definitely I don't remember how many, but it's a large group that gets together every year. And what it does is it kind of combines all of our buying power to have groups give you a little better incentive, which really helps, especially when you think about if a company offers free freight. As a consumer, you kind of get used to like free freight everywhere you do an online order, it's free. But as a company buying, if you get free freight, you have to have a certain order amount or it's capped. But if you buy cutting boards, that can be really expensive and add on to it. And so we work really hard to make sure when we order we're hitting free freight times so we can always stay competitive that way. And then also our relationship directly with companies, Wüsthof being like the biggest example. Um, our kind of just our 30 plus year relationship with them kind of has ensured we have, we get their seconds, we have all this stuff. Um, and when I bring in a new product, I want to make sure that besides we like it, that we can be competitive on it, because I do want to make sure we're always staying competitive, not just locally, but also when people look online.
Well, between all the things that happen too with international shipping, with
Yeah.
tariffs and backed up shipping containers and all the
Mhm.
things that happen, you must have to watch all of that all the time.
Yes, and some of that's why you're going to see less gadgets. Dream Farm handled it really well. But some gadgets, I mean, besides like doubling in price, they were out, like you'd order it, but the price would change by the time they
Hmm.
billed you. And so it was really making sure we were working with companies that were handling that as transparently as possible. Because some companies handled it really well and some did not. And so our biggest thing was making sure, um, and we also pre-bought. So before everything went up in price, we brought in enough gadgets that we anticipated for like the year, um, just to help prolong. And then we don't raise the prices on it until we have to reorder and the cost changes. So we'll be able to keep those prices down as long as possible. And then other companies, Wüsthof took a really great stand and they did not just do a blanket raise on everything. And so that was really nice in focusing on companies that did that and were kind of thoughtful of the small businesses they work with. That's who we focus and kind of made sure to keep ordering from.
That makes a lot of sense. I noticed that just looking at pasta makers, there
Yeah.
are companies in the United States that must have done what you did and bought ahead
Yep.
because the pasta makers are literally hundreds of dollars less than the ones that you would buy that would be shipped from Europe.
Yeah. And that's and same, we learned the hard way the last tariff roll on the triple C side of the business, because steel got very expensive. And so all of those projects, we learned to kind of make sure to just kind of anticipate. And knives are actually way easier to do this with. They take up way less space. And so we just tried to focus on like our best sellers and make sure they stayed in stock and that we could keep them at their normal pricing.
And the triple C side is still functioning.
Yep. Yep. We do gas station remodeling. Um, that always, you have good years, you have bad years on projects, but it always keeps us busy. And we have, summertime is the nice thing is during the summer when EverSharp's a little slower, this side's busier. Holiday season, EverSharp's crazy busy, and that's their slower season. So
And
it
everything's in
kind
the
of,
same building.
yeah, same people, same building.
That's perfect. So your sharpening events are unique because the proceeds are donated to a local nonprofit. So
Yeah.
why did the Jensen family, you and your family, decide to make charity such a core part of the business model?
That has just always been something incredibly important to us. And so when we were looking at ways as a business that we could give back, besides supporting local, vendors or different things, is our sharpening is like a fun event. People want to come and get that supported. And what better way to donate 100% of our sharpening during an event to a different nonprofit? And so we really look at like local, um, ideally like food focused, but nonprofits. So we've done ones that work with kids. Our last one was with the Salt Cure Fund, which was helping struggling Minnesota restaurants, because that's definitely been a challenging time
Hmm.
for all restaurants, but especially in Minnesota. And so we donated 100% of our sharpening for that day. And that just gets, I mean, people are excited. Like they get sharp knives, they get to do something good. And it's such an easy way to give back to your community directly.
So beyond sharpening, you've added services like custom laser engraving,
Yeah.
and I don't know how long that's been going on, but I know it's beautiful. So how do
Yeah.
these extras help you build a customer base that extends beyond your local neighborhood and beyond knife
Yeah.
sharpening?
You know, The engraving kind of started in the machine started in twofold. We use them on the triple C side a lot for cutting things. And then we do engraving for like knife companies as well. And so we have, sometimes we'll get in orders for 50 to 500 knives to engrave, but most of the time we'll get them on our website, people wanting to buy a customized knife. So we get a lot of like hunting knives. The Hella knives are beautiful when they're engraved, and like the Wüsthof knives. And so, we'll get people who've never heard of our store, but we're looking for custom engraving on a knife. And they place their order, and then, we get them, we keep everything in stock. So your knife gets engraved and it's out to you in like 2 business days. So it's a really fast turnaround, but it's just a nice way to like customize a gift. We have a lot of realtors that buy them, either with their logo, or we have a local realtor that actually engraves the customer's name on it, which is like a nice touch. So we're just always looking for ways that one has multiple uses, because engraving machines are very expensive. So like as many ways we can use it, we we try to find those.
So you're engraving the knives and you're also engraving cutting boards. Is that a whole different thing?
We'll do so and basically it's anything that you purchase from our store directly. But yes, cutting boards turn out beautifully. We've done that for companies, or especially for like people if they're doing photography on something and they want a logo on it. And all the cutting boards we sell engrave beautifully, actually.
Yes, I've seen them. They are beautiful. I have one, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact. I put it in a lot of photographs along with the knife you
exactly.
engraved.
Yeah, it's a fun,
Yep.
it's custom.
So, looking just kind of at your whole store and all the things you deal with, right now, today, what is the product you are most excited about?
Oh, improving kind of the process of sharpening, just to streamline it better, because we have been getting in so many mail-in sharpening orders, and so just kind of fine-tuning the flow of that has been fun.
Mhm.
But really, the seconds from Wusthof, I'm probably the most excited about. Those are our 19th anniversary is coming up next month, and I have never seen those prices in 19 years. So that's just exciting. Just kind of getting in something that we love, but like is at a just a crazy deal. That's been really kind of fun
And,
and exciting.
and you're doing a huge event for this.
We are. We're still fine tuning the date exactly, but it'll be in June, and it's our annual tent sale. And so we are very lucky. Wusthof comes in and helps us because we are a small team of people. It's kind of all hands on deck. We get, cousins, aunts, and uncles come in and help for the day.
And Wüsthof
But
actually
it's a
helps work the event.
and they're amazing, and so that's been always really fun. And it's organized chaos, but it is one of the funnest events, and it just kind of goes by in a blink of an eye when you're working the event. But we're working on building different custom sets, to really have on the special, and we've never had anything this great for the tent sale before.
So, and the tent sale is actually right at EverSharp outside.
Yes, it is
And
literally in a tent. We set up a tent the day before to get it ready. But yeah, so it's a small store, and so by having tents set up, it really expands just how much we can showcase. And so we kind of have a flow. You enter through the tent, you come in through our door, and then you can shop inside too. But yeah, it's a fun, organized, just lots of things. We'll have demos that day. We always try to have some kind of fun stuff going on, but it's definitely, and it's fun seeing you see these customers that you've seen, you know, for a decade now or longer, and it's just fun to see those faces as they're stocking up for their holiday gifts, or their kids moving out and needs a new set of knives. It's just kind of fun seeing those change over the years.
so, as you look to the future of EverSharp in the evolving Northeast corridor, which has already changed quite a bit and it
Yeah,
continues to evolve, and with neighbors like Norseman
yeah.
Distillery and the coffee shop, I can't think of the name of it. But
There's,
okay, what's your vision for the next decade of the store?
you know it's fun. I mean, It's been great because when we started, this street was completely industrial. There was
Mhm.
no open to the public besides us. And so it's fun seeing people walk their dogs down our street and just like have people kind of stop in because they're just in the neighborhood. And so, we're not leaving our location. We'll just be kind of filling up the space, but, just continuing to look at other Japanese lines to make sure we're kind of covering all the different steels that people are looking for and making sure we have lots of cutting board options. People have been very conscious about plastic in cutting boards, and so
Mhm.
we're seeing our wooden cutting boards have skyrocketed in interest. And so just making sure we're kind of making sure we're covering those things that are actually people are looking for. But we're also looking at we're going to get a solar panels this year. So just to make sure, because our building does use a lot of energy, and so just kind of making sure we're doing everything to take care of our building and be here for another 19 years.
So, if you could bust a myth about knives or knife care, what would it be?
I would say people often, they think that sometimes like a knife that's advertised as like never needing sharpening or I spent this so much money on it, it should last forever, is that all knives are worth getting sharpened, but all knives also will go dull. So just maintaining your knife, taking care of it will extend it, but get your knife sharpened every so often and you will find cooking so much more enjoyable.
Hmm. Can you describe what you would what are the signs of a dull knife?
So when you bring in your knives for sharpening, we do several steps after to check and make sure they're meeting our expectations. And that's one of them is cutting through paper. Um, that's a great quick sign is if you can slice through paper easily. Um, Sometimes people have us check when they bring them in, and the paper just completely rolls. There's no
And by
there's no
slicing
edge.
through paper, that means taking your knife and putting it up to the
Yep.
edge of the piece of paper,
Yep.
not poking the edge through it.
Yep. Correct. Slice
Okay.
through it. But it's kind of, I say, like, think of your favorite food or what you're cutting a lot of and how much pressure you're having to push on it. If you're having to smash your carrot or, you're poking your tomato and then trying to like saw through it, those are good signs. When it's like struggling, most times people don't realize it. It's a slow change. And often people either they've just got a new knife and realized all their knives were dull, or they went to someone's house and realized they had sharp knives and they didn't. So it's
Hmm.
kind of just that. And then once you know that, you just kind of save that memory and go, okay, this is how much effort I should have to push through a potato, to chop a pepper. And generally most of our customers come in once or twice a year. If you're really great at taking care of your knives, you can definitely extend that. Um,
But
just kind
extend it
of, yeah,
by using a steel.
steel. A lot of our customers, especially with Japanese knives, use a ceramic honing rod. Um, Making sure you're cutting on a forgiving surface, all of those things. And the other thing is, if you only have one knife, that knife is going to go duller than somebody who's using six knives.
Hmm.
Just simple math on that one. But that's where if someone's like, my knife doesn't last that long, and it's their only knife. If they want to extend it, I'm like, maybe get a second one just to help, give it a
Take
little
the pressure
variety.
off, right? Give it a
Yes,
break.
exactly.
Well, for me, I use a tomato, and if I
Yep.
can break that skin nicely with a slice, then I'm
Yes.
happy. And if I can't, then I'm unhappy. And I also notice that I cut in different areas of the knife, so I can have an area of the knife that's dull, and the rest of it can be still sharp. But
Yes.
I have to adjust for the dull part.
Yes. And that's, yeah, when we check knives, when someone brings them in, you can definitely see where they favor often tips. But then, if people use the center, it's like, oh, yeah, your tip is completely sharp. Your just first half of the knife is dull. Um, I tend to like a serrated knife for tomatoes. But when we do ceramic knives, we test ceramic knives on tomatoes
Hmm.
because ceramic knives are a little different than metal knives. They can cut through paper, but they might not cut through a tomato. And so you have to find that balance to make sure you have a sharp knife, but also a functionally sharp knife. And so we make sure that that can slice through it perfectly as well as paper, because that's, the two good challenges.
So, Maddie, where is EverSharp Kitchen Store?
We're in Northeast Minneapolis. We're right off of East Hennepin at 344 Taft Street.
And you're also online.
We are. We're at eversharpknives.com. And so knives is plural. That always gets people.
And what can you expect from the website? Can you buy on the website?
You can buy all of our regularly priced stock. So we have lots of Wüsthof, we have Kikuichi and some Mayabi, and then people also do most of the sharpening orders online. So they can pay for sharpening online and mail in their knives or use a form too, whichever is easy. Um, I always tell people if you're local, use it to get an idea of what we have, but come in the store. You will always find more items, and then if we have it on a different special, you will always find that as well in the store.
Yes, I can attest to that. That
Yeah,
is completely true. Completely
yeah,
true. So, Maddie, this has been such a true pleasure. I look forward to my next trip to the store to see what's new. And I'm inviting you back to Midwest Meets Mediterranean right now.
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.